everybody, and welcome to The Right Call. My name is Cole Altman, and I'm with my cousin here today, Ezekiel Altman. How are you doing, Zeke?
I'm doing very well. Looking forward to a great day of football.
I know, it's going to be wonderful. Week 6, here we come. So we have some interesting dilemmas here. We're thinking of players that we want to start, but players that may be obvious to start, but we're not going to talk about those. But we're going to talk about some sneaky players that may be startable, and some players that you may definitely want to sit. So why don't you start us off with quarterback, Zeke?
I'm actually not going to start with the quarterback. I'm going to go with a very sneaky wide receiver.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to go with Chiefs wide receiver Nicole Hardman.
Wow.
He has been getting double-digit targets by Patrick Mahomes, and this is a time where the Chiefs' offense will need to be desperate, and they got guys like Tyreek Hill and Nicole Hardman that will go downfield. But you think about Tyreek Hill, one of the top wide receivers in the league, will get all the attention. Nicole Hardman might just sneak in there for a big play or in a couple touchdowns and a bunch of targets. Like, he's been getting that attention from Patrick Mahomes with the double-digit targets.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I could see that. I mean, I didn't know that he was getting double-digit targets, and that's something that could definitely be eyeable for fantasy managers because Nicole Hardman has had the talent in the past. He's really quick. He's like Tyreek Hill. He's just not as talented. So he could get some of those reps this week, especially against a weak Washington defense. So before I say my pick at wide receiver, I just want to say the last 2 weeks that I've done a trade with Zeke. First, it was Myles Gaskin I started. He had 31. Now Jalen Waddle has 25. So I'd like to say the last 2 weeks that I've gotten a smaller player. That's on the Dolphins, by the way. They have gone off for me. So thank you very much, Zeke.
Yeah, and all the people in our league watching this show, don't fall for it. Don't let Cole sell high to you.
All right, so someone that I think is probably a must-start in most leagues, but I think has the opportunity to be a top 5 wide receiver this week is Deontay Johnson. I think Deontay Johnson, he has a great matchup against Seattle. Juju just went down. Ben Roethlisberger showed that he's kind of snapping back into gear, not into what he was before, but I think Deontay Johnson, definitely 20-25 point material this week, so I'd keep an eye on him, and he's a sufficient wide receiver one this week. So why don't you, do you have anything to say about that?
I totally think Deontay Johnson is a great pick. He's been so consistent, like one of the most consistent wide receivers out there, with an awful quarterback, but he still gets it done week in and week out. Imagine what he would be with a great quarterback. He would be something scary. But let's get back to reality here. Deontay Johnson is a great pick week in and week out, and he's just going to get it done, put up 15, 16, maybe 20 points this week, and he's a very safe play for any fantasy owner out there.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so do you want to go to quarterback?
No, I'm actually not going to go with quarterback again.
Wow.
I'm going to go with the quarterback is part of my sit section. So I'm going to go to my tight end instead of my quarterback.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with the main man on the Washington football team, Ricky Seals-Jones.
Is he your start?
He is my sneaky start there in Washington. Logan Thomas out last week. He actually racked up Ricky Seals-Jones actually racked up 9 targets last week with a solid 9 points in that first week. And I just think he's going to bring it up a notch this week and show off that he should be a starting tight end in this league somewhere. And I think he has the talent. He's an athletic player. And he could give Logan Thomas a run for his money, I feel like, if he gets a few weeks of solid play. But I really think that Ricky Seals-Jones could be a sneaky start this week.
I actually agree with that. I mean, I had him on my roster for a while. I mean, you tried to pick him last night. I mean, he's a good player. Once Logan Thomas comes back, he's going to be silenced. But for the next few weeks, he's definitely a good start for your fantasy team for streaming options. So my tight end pick, I know this is going to surprise a lot of people. My tight end pick is Ian Thomas for the week. Carolina, Sam Darnold.
Interesting one.
As Dan Arnold left Carolina, you've seen Ian Thomas get a few more targets than usual. So I'm not saying he's going to put up 15 or 20 points. I'm just saying if you really are desperate for a streaming option, I'd pick him over the Pat Freiermuths or the Anthony Ferksters or the Cole Kmet or the Austin Hoopers or the Mo Alley Coxes of the world. Like, he should be a high-end streaming option for you this week if you really consider it. Do you agree?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I do not know a lot about Thomas, but I have to what I'm hearing from you, really convinces me that he could be a good option this week. I honestly don't know much about him, so I really can't make that great of an opinion. But go with Thomas. But if you really know your football, go with Ricky Seals-Jones.
Yeah, Ricky Seals-Jones is definitely the highest streaming option for this week. So,
let's go to running back.
All right. So I'll start with running back. My sneaky rest. Week 6 has been rested for a couple weeks now, and he hasn't been rested. He's been rested for his whole career, to be honest, in Chicago. A top 10 running back this week, in my opinion, is Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert, not for the rest of the season, but for this week, I would definitely put him in that top 10, top 15 range because he's going to get so many reps.
I totally agree.
With Damian Williams out and Montgomery out, so he's definitely going to get the majority of the reps there. And with the struggle in the passing game, he's going to have probably 20 to 25 touches. So he's in high end RB2 range.
I totally agree. You look at that Bears running game through the season, through the end of last season, through the beginning of this season. They rely so much on David Montgomery. Now that David Montgomery gets hurt, then they rely on Damian Williams. You see Allen Robinson, their best wide receiver. He's not doing anything in the passing game. You see Darnell Mooney. He's all right, but they're just not using that passing game. Justin Fields is rushing more now. But then now you rely on Khalil Herbert, who's actually pretty solid and can get you a few points there. And I think he is definitely a top 10 option this week. So I'm going to go to my pick. This is more for if you have a very deep roster, if you have a very great team. I'm going to go with a start this week, a must start this week, in Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, I believe, who are the Bengals playing?
The Bengals are playing Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit. They are the 4th worst running defense in the league. They are just a tanking for a draft pick type of team, and they give teams a run for their money, but it's just not working there for Dan Campbell in Detroit. And I think Joe Mixon is just going to have a field day today. I think Joe Burrow's just going to hand the ball off to Joe Mixon. I think there'll still be a passing game for guys like T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and especially Jamar Chase. But I think it's just going to be a great offensive display by the Cincinnati Bengals today. And Joe Mixon is going to get a lot of work against that 4th worst running defense.
I totally agree. Joe Mixon's definitely a safe start this week. But something to be wary of with Joe Mixon is that he doesn't always get the big gains. I mean, they throw it off to him. He's like a James White kind of player. So they throw it off to him. He's not super quick. He's not super agile. He's strong, but he's not like that. So I can just see him putting up, I'd say 15 or 16 points this week. I don't see him going off, but I see him definitely having a solid week against tough Detroit defense.
I agree and disagree. I think 15, 16 is safe, but I think he'll crack that 20 mark because they use him in the passing game, and they really utilize him a lot in so many different ways. And he is a very solid running back for you, and he's a very safe option.
So you're saying that what to expect from him is like a 16 or 17 point performance, but he
has that upside.
Okay,
he has that upside.
All right, good. That's what we like to hear. So, all right, so we're moving on to our last segment in quarterbacks, and then we'll talk about sits for the week. So who do you like to start for the quarterbacks?
This week to start for quarterbacks, I'm going to have to go with a sneaky option here in Geno Smith.
Oh, my goodness.
Geno Smith.
Oh, boy.
Trust me here.
We have our friend Brady Chapman in the back here, and I can see him waving, shaking his head.
Terrible.
And he's saying terrible.
Geno Smith.
If it was like 2012, maybe. Maybe.
No, Geno Smith, trust me here. He is coming into a Seahawks offense with Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, all these different players.
Chris Carson's looking real good out there, isn't he?
He is injured. But Geno Smith, when he was back in the day with the Jets, he didn't have those kind of wide receivers. Now he's with the Seahawks team. He showed it last week in that little time he got after Russell Wilson went out the game with mallet finger, but he showed it. He showed it in that last half in that game, and I think he really could bring that momentum into today's game and be a very sneaky, solid player and get you a solid 16, 17 points out of your quarterback.
Well, speaking of mallet finger, my dad has 2 mallet fingers, and he was out for no longer than 1 week. I would just like to say that. He was back to work, playing basketball, playing baseball, playing softball. He was back to sports by 1 week. So
and that's why Geno Smith is my start for this week and not the next week.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, according to Pete Carroll, is a fast healer. So we will see. We will see Geno Smith in the future. But this week, I think he is a sneaky, solid start for you.
Well, my must start this week is for sure. Hold on, I just accidentally closed out the page. But my for sure start this week is Taylor Heineke. I mean, Taylor Heineke, great, fantastic matchup. Hold on. Yeah, Taylor Heineke is a fantastic matchup against a weak Kansas City defense, one of the worst defenses in the National Football League. He has good weapons. Ricky Seals-Jones, like we were talking about earlier, obviously he has McLaurin, he has Gibson, he has A.J Brown, he has Curtis Samuel. So he has a ton of guys there that can really get it done and make big plays. So I see a big 20-25 point week from Heineke this week.
Yeah.
So why don't you start us off with
Yeah, I'll start off with our each of our 2 sits for this week. I'm going to start off my first sit with none other than Green Bay Packers tight end Robert Tanyan.
Okay.
Robert Tanyan has just been god-awful the last few weeks. He's got 1 touchdown this season, and that created his only great week. Robert Tanyan is just, he has 17 targets in the first 5 weeks. That's like 3 to 4 targets per game if you average it out. That is terrible for a tight end that was getting many targets last year and was one of Aaron Rodgers' best weapons. This year he is just not having it, and Aaron Rodgers is throwing it to Devontae Adams and Randall Cobb, I feel like, every single time, or dishing off to Aaron Jones or A.J. Dillon. It's just not working for Robert Tanyan, and he just has to be a sit this week. And he's turning into one of those players that's great one season, but then the next season he just turns into a waiver wire player.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Robert Tanyan, he's really struggled the last few weeks. I just don't know what happened to him. My wide receiver sit this week, Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, the last 2 times he's played the Patriots, he played one when he was on the Raiders and one when he was on the Cowboys. He's had 0 yards.
That is a good point.
Yeah, he's had 0 yards.
0 yards.
0 yards.
Yeah.
6 targets. I'm sorry. We have incoming data real quick.
One of the times was against Stefan Gilmore, the Defensive Player of the Year.
One of the times was apparently was against Stefan Gilmore. But let's not forget, Julio Jones had 100 yards against Stefan Gilmore. So
Devontae Parker lit up Stefan Gilmore.
Yeah, so that's not really a valid point, Mr. Brady Chapman. So, I just don't like Amari Cooper anytime they're playing the Patriots.
I have another point to make on that. When you look at a player that goes against the Patriots, as us Patriots fans, we focus on the Patriots games very, very closely. And a player can burn the Patriots, right? Like, we saw Devontae Parker burn the Patriots many times. We've seen Jalen Waddle, like, week 1, burn the Patriots. Like, last week, Davis Mills burned the Patriots. But they don't burn the Patriots in a fantasy sense, more of a real football sense.
Yeah.
It's more of a, he got that pass. They got like 30 yards off of it. That killed that instant third down, that only third down play that really threw away the game. We don't see them do pass after yards after yards after touchdown after touchdown. No one really does that against the Patriots. That's just not how it works. Like, I went to week 1 against the Dolphins. Myles Gaskin was burning the Patriots. He ended the game with about 9 points.
Yeah.
So that's just not how it works against the Patriots.
Yeah. Nope. They make sure one player's not going to kill him.
Yes, exactly.
So my last sit for the week. Someone that maybe is getting a little too much hype. I have this guy on my fantasy team, and Zeke and Brady know how much I absolutely adore this guy. And I love him for the rest of the season, but I don't think he's going to fulfill what people think he's going to do this week. It's Kareem Hunt. Kareem He's great in that two-back offense. It concerns me what he's going to be able to do in that one-back offense. I don't know how many throws instead of going to Kareem Hunt are going to go to Odell Beckham Jr. I think this really could. Chubb's absence could really help Odell Beckham Jr. and Austin Hooper, and so it can help more of the receiving game than the running game. So I think Kareem Hunt's safe to start for a 16, 17-point game, but a lot of people are predicting 25 to 30 points. I just don't see that.
Wow. I did not expect that. You have been raving about Kareem Hunt for about the last 24 hours.
He's a beast. He's an absolute beast. He's just not a beast in a one-back offense.
I actually very much agree with you there. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt just complement each other. They bring what the Browns' offense is. That running game is unstoppable with the both of those two. And I feel like if one of them's out, the other one won't do that well. The only sense I see that one of them will do well is if Kareem Hunt was injured, because Nick Chubb is just so good, and I really still think he's the number one in that offense, no matter what you say to me.
We're going to have to disagree on that one.
Let's agree to disagree on that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
So yeah, that brings me to my last sit of this week. He is the wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans, A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown, he obviously has been banged up the last few weeks, and he has just incredible upside, as we've seen in the last 2 years, and he can go for those big plays. But I just think you got to wait on him. I think you have to wait a few more weeks on him. I think this week is not going to be the week. Remind me who the Titans are playing this week?
The Titans are playing the
Buffalo Bills. I should have remembered that. But the Buffalo Bills, as I saw, was the number 1 ranked passing defense in the league. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tre'Davious White will pummel A.J. Brown.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Tre'Davious White will just lock up A.J. Brown.
Oh, he's going to annihilate him. It's not even funny.
It's not even going to be funny. You could look at Julio Jones, and he might get a few targets today.
Oh, no, it's going to be a big game for Julio.
Yeah,
Julio Jones could have 15 or 20.
It could be a great game for Julio Jones.
A.J. Brown, 3 points.
3 points. Hey, don't hate on my boy A.J. Brown, though. 5 points.
He sucks.
5 points.
He's bedoodle donkers.
Okay, relax. So, yeah, those are my 2 sits.
All right. I mean, that's pretty much it for me. I mean, Zeke, do you have any other final thoughts? Do you have any right calls to make?
I'm just very excited for football this week. And the Patriots will win today.
Hopefully.
With a score of 28-21. Mac Jones will throw for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 for Kendrick Bourne, 1 for Nelson Aguilar. The 2 new signings will get a touchdown, and we will move to 3-3.
Will Jacoby Myers get his first career touchdown? That's the question we will answer on the next edition of The Right Call. Thank you for joining us.